Here we are!
Hello.
Welcome to DnDTime Talks, the show where we discuss all things Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Pete.
I'm Jeremy. Hello, everybody. I see Blood said they were first. Blood, did you beat the Spectator?
Probably.
My cat says no.
Probably. I mean, it's very possible.
Actually, it is very possible. Pete, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for today's talk. These are pleasant to go through and do some Unearthed Arcana. That's what we're talking about today, or two of the new Unearthed Arcana subclasses that came out. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm super frazzled. It's been one hell of a day.
Yeah, you were mentioning.
Yeah, a lot of things. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to talk about one of those things, so we're not going to mention that, but it's bad. It's just been a bit frazzled. The rest of my day, some of you may notice the layout is a little bit different right now. It's going to be a little bit more different when we're putting up the Unearthed Arcana to look at and talk about, but I also have switched over to the new OBS version. There are some major upgrades and some growing pains as I figure out how the hell it works. So.
And, to Blood Deuce, to Halo Dude, and to Sword Co here, and all those that lurk in the shadows, I do say, hello. Thanks for coming to hang out tonight.
Oh, Blood, of course, I am perfectly okay. I am perfectly safe. Nothing to me. It has to do with my work. It's not a big deal. I'm totally fine. But I appreciate your concern, my friend. So, Pete, we're talking about Unearthed Arcana today.
Yes, but before we dive into that, let me also just say real quick, at the end of the show, we do a segment called Ask Pete and Jeremy. If you have questions for that, there's a link to our Discord below. You can ask us any question, be it silly, be it Dungeons and Dragon related, be it anything. Please ask us a couple questions for that. Hey, and hello to Maddie, who's here now as well.
Oh, hello, Maddie. But yeah.
Sorry, I was laughing at Blood Deuce's comment. Yes, I am also okay and safe. Even there's
we're not worried about Pete. We're only worried about me. Pete.
Your boy's good.
About me.
Indeed.
It's about me, not you. How about you stop stealing my thunder?
I'm just responding to this is what the people demanded of me, which was to say that I was okay and fine.
I guess that's valid. Anyway, let's talk a little bit. So, for those who may not be fully aware of what Unearthed Arcana is, this is a really cool thing, actually. Wizards of the Coast, gonna take a brief history lesson, super brief though. 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, unlike pretty much every other edition of D&D before it, was built entirely on playtest and feedback from players. Right at the beginning, they before any of the books were released, years before anything was released, they put out playtest material for players to all around the world to play with. People played, gave their feedback, and that helped to mold the game into the amazing game that it is today. And it's pretty damn good. I would say it's the best version of D&D so far, but that's just my preference. Unearthed Arcana is a continuation of that. Before they release new content, especially, and this is important, especially potentially contentious content, they will release it in these Unearthed Arcanas, which are just free supplements available on Wizards of the Coast website for players to download, to read, to play test in their own groups, and then to provide feedback on their website. So this is a way for you as a player of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons to A, see cool new content before it comes out, and B, give your feedback on that content before it becomes a permanent part of the game. If you have Xanathar's Guide to Everything, almost every subclass option that was in that book came through Unearthed Arcana. So, at least in some iteration or another. A couple of them went through a few iterations.
And there were definitely things in that Unearthed Arcana that I didn't like that must have been fed back, because there were a lot of them that were very much improved when they came out in Xanathar's Guide.
Yes, absolutely.
And the ones that we're going to be looking at today are subclasses. They've released 2 new subclasses. Actually, there are 4 in total, but we're going to be looking at 2 of them today that were released together as one kind of package. And that was a Bardic College, the College of Eloquence, and then a sacred oath for the Paladins called the Oath of Heroism. And we're going to be going through and breaking down our thoughts on them, both in terms of like what we think of the flavor and what the feel of the subclass is, also how we feel about the design and kind of balance of it. And with that in mind, do you want to just start diving right in, Jeremy? Do you want to read us a little bit about the College of Eloquence?
I'm going to throw a link in the chat just for anyone who wants to follow along with their own copy. We're going to be talking our way through it, though, so, don't feel like you need to click it.
Indeed.
All right, so the College of Eloquence. So bards get their subclass, is what it's called in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, which is their bardic college at 3rd level. And the College of Eloquence is just another option for that. It's competing with College of Lore, College of Swords, College of Valor, and a few other subclasses that you may or may not know. So, a College of Whispers, if you know Spec Speechly from DnDTime Tales, is another one. But College of Eloquence. The adherents of the College of Eloquence master the art of oratory. Persuasion is regarded as a high art, and a well-reasoned, well-spoken argument often proves more powerful than objective truth. These bards wield a blend of logic and theatrical wordplay, winning over skeptics and detractors with logical arguments and plucking at the heartstrings to appeal to the emotions of an entire audience. So that's a basic idea of what this subclass is going to try and do. If you're familiar with Greek philosophers, like ancient Greek philosophers, that would be these guys. And even like more modern day philosophers, or pundits could fall very easily under these kind of situations, or politicians just in general.
Absolutely. So, and just in my first impressions on the flavor of this is an archetype that I have felt has been missing from Dungeons & Dragons for a really long time. So much so that a long time ago, Jeremy, I don't know if you remember this at all, but I built an entire class built around, I wanted to play someone who wasn't necessarily super magical, it wasn't necessarily really strong, they just were very fast-tongued and could kind of talk their way out of situations. And that's something that, as an archetype, I really love as a player, and was pretty excited to kind of go into this one and see what it was.
Absolutely. And if you're going to add new stuff to the game, new content like a subclass, it needs to fulfill that kind of fantasy. It needs to fulfill an archetype that doesn't already exist in the game. And like Pete was saying, this is an archetype that doesn't exist in the game. And let's be real, of the bards that are in Dungeons & Dragons, how many of them are exist IRL, right? Okay, lore, maybe, right? There are historians and things, those could be lore bards.
But also,
Valor
lore tends to not feel quite like that either.
Yeah, Valor Bard, was that WWE Superstars, maybe? I mean, maybe? But College of Eloquence, this is history of people who can speak, and I guess fencers would be kind of like the swords bar. But this is a historical precedent for this, existing and being pivotal in shaping the world. So, very important subclass. We're going to go through a couple of their features. The subclass gets 2 at level 3, 2 features. I'm going to talk about the first one, and then Pete, you want to cover the next one?
Sure. Bring us through Universal Speech.
Yeah, Universal Speech. You've gained the ability to speak and reason with any creature. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your uses of your Bardic Inspiration. When you do so, roll your Bardic Inspiration die, and choose the number of creatures within 60 feet that you can see equal to the roll. For 10 minutes, the chosen creatures can magically understand you, regardless of the language you speak, and you have advantage on charisma checks made to influence them. This feature works even on a creature that does not speak any languages. That's a very interesting feature. Do you want to go through all of them and then talk through them, or just hit them one at a time?
Let's go one at a time, because I feel like we'll get a little lost in the weeds.
I think,
and there's a lot to talk about just in this one.
Well, I think in a vacuum, if you just look at this ability, you can talk to creatures and you have advantage on charisma checks. If that's all it did, that's fine, right? Well, that's great.
Let's also,
no problems there.
I think we also talk about soothing words in that case, and then we won't go on to undeniable logic.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about 3.
But those definitely are intended to play off each other. So
here, the second feature you get at level 3.
Yes, that would be Soothing Words. You can now cast Calm Emotions without expending a spell slot. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier. You regain all expended uses of this feature when you finish a long rest. All right.
Okay, now let's talk about these.
Yeah.
So let's talk universal speech first, right? Because this is the first one you get, and I think this is the most fun role-playing one.
Indeed. I love the idea of universal speech. The ability to, as a player reading this, and we were talking a little bit about this beforehand, Jared, but as a player reading this would really excite me, and I would want to play around with this. It's not all that much of a resource. It's one bardic inspiration die, and you can talk to any number of creatures within 60 feet. So you don't have to, or I'm sorry, it's equal to the roll. But usually, generally speaking, in a, presumably this is in an encounter or in a social setting, you don't need to get any more than usually one, but if you roll a d6, the average of 2 or 3. So you'll probably be able to talk to the people you need to talk to. It lasts for 10 minutes, so you have plenty of time to role play. And well, the first thing where I start to have a little bit of an issue is with this idea that the feature works on a creature that doesn't speak any language.
Yeah, that's something that is totally different from anything else that exists in 5e. And I also want to point out that it's a bonus action. So this isn't your turn to set up this ability. And this is weird because it opens up a couple of really funky situations. So for a bonus action, you can talk to any creature. But then, and it understands you, which is whack, and you have advantage to persuade it. And that's not necessarily a problem because a dungeon master might say, all right, well, it's hostile toward you. So, you have advantage to persuade it, but it's just not a creature that can be persuaded. A dungeon master has the control to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But this opens up some other spells that otherwise wouldn't be usable on those kinds of creatures. Like command is a great example. You can now command anything. Even oh look, that Hellfire engine. That's a construct. Let me command it. Because you can do that.
That is that's
weird.
Definitely an interaction that I think is very much unintended in this design. I don't think they want you to do that, and that's not what it's for. I think the real niche case that they want you to be able to do is to walk into a forest and convince a bear that everything is okay and that you can walk past it, is I think the relatively harmless and okay use of this. But there are a lot of situations. Additionally, and the big problem that we're going to be getting to is this subclass is going to be very troublesome to DM for. And I see tons of pitfalls that are going to immediately come up if you have a player with this kind of in your game as a DM. And that's this calm emotions ability. You get to use a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, which scales directly off your primary stat. So almost inevitably, you're eventually going to have 5 of them per long rest. And the way this is kind of conjunctioned with itself, they're meant to kind of play off each other, which they give them both of them at 3, so you can start doing this immediately as the Eloquence Bard, is you calm emotions on a group of, on an encounter, and then you universal speech on that encounter and convince the encounter that it doesn't need to happen, is, I think, very much the intended design here. Would you agree, Jeremy?
Yeah, and there's a lot of synergy there that no other bard subclass has with the abilities they get at level 3. There are a couple of subclasses of the bard that gets 2 abilities at level 3. But this kind of synergy doesn't really exist there. And more importantly than that, man, your other players in the party are going to hate you.
Exactly.
You're just taking every single combat encounter away from them. They're going to be pissed. That barbarian's going to literally murder you.
It's very much in disharmony with the way that Dungeons & Dragons is intended to be played, which is in kind of battles. And I mean, every party's different, and there might be games where this kind of thing is okay and it just works. But I think your typical adventure, certainly any adventure designed by Wizards of the Coast, this would completely ruin a lot of games, the combination of these 2 features, and make it a lot of very unfun for a lot of people at the table.
And like Pete was saying before, the bigger problem becomes as a dungeon master trying to adjudicate this, because this is their feature. You can't just take it away from them. And so it becomes really hard it can become very hard, and I foresee this becoming very hard to actively challenge the player. I also want to compare this to the Glamour Bard, because the Glamour Bard, which was released in Xanathar's Guide? Mordenkainen's Stomatophos, I think.
That's correct, yeah.
It gives you a similar ability where you can cast Command a whole bunch. And I think that one's okay, because Command can do a lot of different things.
No, Xanathar's, you were right the first time.
I was right the first time. All right, yeah. Command can do a bunch of different things. It can make enemies run away. It can make people throw the weapons on the ground. It can cause them to, you can do a bunch of stuff with it, cause them to grovel and be easier to attack. But it doesn't just stop anything. Calm Emotions just stops things, and I could see this being very frustrating, both for the DM when it works, and for the player when it doesn't, because that's your only dance move is Calm Emotions. And
you calm things down.
Interestingly.
Yeah, you calm things down and you tell them that you're not going to fight, and then it's going to come down to the DM's just going to have to be making decisions, not based on your roles and the mechanics, but just based on whether or not this has happened enough, and whether or not the party, needs to have a fight. Because if he lets it work just based on rolls, as a bard with the way skill checks work, it's going to be like, oh, I rolled a 25 on my persuasion check, so there's no reason these wild boars that are swarming us in the forest shouldn't attack. But as a DM, you're just going to have to be like, yeah, but they do. And that's going to feel bad for the player. Anyway, there
are some problems with it.
It's close. It's like, I think they were going in a cool direction, and I like the idea. It just didn't. I just don't think this would just be super problematic in a game, even though I love the flavor of it and would even want to play this.
Hold up. This will be super problematic in a game where the player is trying to use it creatively. And that's the problem. A player should be rewarded for trying to use their abilities creatively, and a player using this option and those two options really creatively is going to be discordant within the party harmony, not this calming, soothing force. They're going to be a problem, and that's not a good thing. I see there's some people in chat. Redeemer of NA, new material. Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about new Unearthed Arcana. This is the College of Eloquence Bard. And hello, Oshit. I like Adrian's comment as well. Hey, man, chill.
Yeah, I think Adrian P. was saying before, this is the Big Lebowski. This is the dude. Hey, let's just like your opinion, man. Also, while we're talking to chat, quick thank you to Ian Grimm 9 for their subscription. They've been subscribed for 14 months. Thanks, Ian.
But yeah, College of Eloquence is the first two things.
Let's talk about undeniable logic, Jeremy. Let's keep moving.
Yeah. So undeniable logic, you can spin words laced with magic into a knot of reasoning that can be encouraging or impossible to follow. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your uses of your bardic inspiration. When you do so, choose a creature you can see within 60 of you that can hear you, and roll your bardic inspiration die, and choose one of the following. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the number you roll on the bardic inspiration die, and the creature must succeed on an intelligence saving throw against your spell save DC, or have disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes before the end of your next turn. Or the creature regains hit points equal to the number you roll on the bardic inspiration die, and the creature has advantage on the next saving throw it makes before the end of your next turn.
All right.
This is interesting.
Yeah. I, as a long-term bard player, I always get a little disappointed when I see more mechanics being tied into my bardic inspiration, since that's kind of your whole thing, and it just kind of takes it away. But I don't know. It's definitely. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but this one doesn't really inspire me all that much, and make me want to use it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is a really interesting ability because it's incredibly powerful.
It's definitely good. No two ways about that.
Bonus action, you can maybe give someone disadvantage on your next save. That's huge. That can be very, very potent. But like Pete was saying, using up your bardic inspirations, you only have 5 of those per short rest. And your other ability uses it too, and it can be a little dicey.
Yeah. Go on.
In my opinion, the two biggest issues with this one, right, I'm talking specifically about the psychic damage, because let's be real, the regaining hit points and getting advantage on a saving throw, I think that's totally fine, right? We have no problems with that.
Just have disadvantage. The advantage on the next saving throw.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but it's using one of your core resources, and the hit points are never going to be anything crazy. I'm fine with it.
But the psychic damage and disadvantage is the big one. And the reason I say that is it does damage. And I'm saying that's a bad thing, because I could see a player wanting to use this creatively. You're using your undeniable logic, and you have to hurt people to do that? Like, it has to harm them? I could see a player wanting to use this in a creative situation. Like, let me convince the king with my undeniable logic. Oh, he's dead. I killed him with my words. Now I'm hung. I could see some ways you'd want to use this as a player that the mechanics don't help with. And then my next, and I think this is, as a DM, my main qualm is, oh my god, roll a saving throw so we can find out if you have advantage or disadvantage on your next saving throw. Oh my goodness, there's so many saving throws. Get rid of the saving throws.
Adrian P is saying that regaining hit points from 0 as a bonus action is my problem. It should be temporary HP. I don't necessarily have a problem. I actually agree with you, but I don't think for the same reason. I don't have a problem with that mechanic of the idea of gaining hit points. I just don't think it feels like it's fitting for the feature. Temporary hit points is being like, yes, the encouraging words you have received have bolstered you and made you feel stronger than you are. Feels more right to me than they literally heal you.
Well, and actually, a really great comment from Cold Spark: unconscious creatures can't hear. When you do so, choose a creature that you can see within 60 feet, within 60 of you, that can hear you. Unfortunately, I don't think that unconscious creatures are deafened, which is dumb, but they aren't. I think unconscious creatures can, as far as we know, hear. Oh, no, you're unaware of your surroundings. You can't hear.
Yeah, no, I think you can't use.
So you cannot bring a person up from 0. Now, this is one of those rules minutia that everyone's going to play that wrong, which means there's an issue with the design. It needs to be clarified, because it's a really easy mistake.
And also, the disadvantage on saving throw, it's kind of a little bit unwieldy. Again, my core issue with this, I love the idea of it. I love the flavor of you just logic people into, either getting thrown off or being, emboldened. But neither of these mechanics feel fun to play with to me. It doesn't feel reflected all that much in what's happening in the way it's being translated into how it affects the gameplay.
I mean, I could see some cool uses for the undeniable logic. I could see a cool situation where a party's going through a dungeon, right? And there's a trap up ahead. You see the trap and you're like, forget it. We're just going to leap through the trap. And you're like, I want to use my undeniable logic on my maimed barbarian friend here and explain to them how they can jump through the trap more safely. Right? And then they have advantage on their saving throw against the trap.
Yeah, it's,
there are a few niche options, but
you can work it. I don't know. It's not bad. I wouldn't have a problem. Unlike the previous features, I wouldn't have a problem with someone having this in my game.
And we got another comment in chat from Redeemer of NA. Question: when you guys have a chance, start playing the Baldur's Gate campaign this weekend. It's the question: when you have a chance. Starting a Baldur's Gate campaign this weekend, and I'm going to play a Paladin. However, I'm not too familiar with the class since I don't play it. What oath should I take? That's an interesting question, Redeemer of NA.
I guess the answer is I would recommend leaning towards one of these starter oaths.
Yeah.
Which would be the oath.
One of the player's handbook.
Yeah, that's what I mean by that.
The best oaths.
The Oath of Devotion, the Oath of Vengeance, or the Oath of the Ancients. All of them are fun. All of them have a cool flavor. There isn't one that's necessarily mechanically more difficult. I think a lot of people would argue for different ones being stronger than others, and it depends on... I think that they're close enough that it really just comes down to personal taste, which is a sign of good design there. And they're all pretty fun, and they all definitely feel like a paladin. It just comes down to, I think, what your personal flavor is, what you're into as a player is.
And just to add on to that, you're lucky you picked a Paladin because every Paladin is excellent.
Yeah,
there's no wrong choices with the Paladin. So I would just pick whichever one. If you're not super confident with the mechanics, I think probably Devotion is the most straightforward. Maybe Ancients. One of those two are the most straightforward.
Devotion is very cut and dry.
Yeah, and it's very good too. So you're not going to make any bad choices there. Now, if you're playing a more evil character, there's an Oath of Conquest in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Is that the right book?
No,
it's in Xanathar's Guide.
There's no subclass stuff, I think, in Tome of Foes.
Yeah, and and that Conquest Paladin has like a kind of dark tinge to them, which might be really cool in the Baldur's Gate setting. I know a little bit about that setting. It's very interesting. But yeah, so let's keep jumping on. This undeniable logic, it's uninspiring, I guess is what we're getting at.
Yeah.
Right? It's like good, but I want more. I want to be able to do more fun things with undeniable logic.
Agreed. And so let's move on to the level 14 feature, and that is Infectious Inspiration. And this is the capstone of the subclass, and it is when a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration dice to its ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, and the roll fails, the creature can keep the Bardic Inspiration die. In addition, when a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration dice to its ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, and the roll succeeds, you can use your reaction to encourage a different creature, other than yourself, that can hear you within 60 feet of you, giving it a Bardic Inspiration die without expending any of your Bardic Inspiration uses. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. All right, this feature is one that I actually really like. I really like this feature. This seems, really fun to use. I love stuff that calls in the reaction, because I think the reaction is kind of like in some ways an underutilized thing, and when you're doing things as a reaction, it oftentimes just kind of feels free. Certainly there's opportunity attacks that will take it up from time to time, but really it just feels like a part of your action economy that you're just, tossing something else into. And just getting more of them by having this extra situation. When you're doing good, it kind of like, you can pass on the good vibes to someone else. It fits the title. It feels very, Eloquence. Like I almost picture the scene as like an excited teacher once one student starts to kind of like get what they're getting at. They're like, yes, yes. And then another one like speaks, it feels so right.
I'm with you 100%. I like that kind of thematic aspect of this, where one thing, then you call out to the next person to flow into the next one. It feels like a very dramatic, almost cinematic flow to the combat that this would help to encourage. And I mean, it's just fun, right? You only have 5 Bardic Inspiration dies usually, a number equal to your Charisma modifier per rest. So being able to like potentially chain into a bunch of them will feel really cool. And beyond that, this is an ability that buffs your friend. This makes your friends good. You're going to feel good because you're enabling them, and they're going to feel good because they're doing great.
Because they're being enabled.
Exactly. This isn't one of those abilities where you're going to be so much better than everyone else and other people might be jealous. Everyone wins here. I really like this ability, and I really like how I like the implementation of it. Whereas we had some issues with some of the others, I think this one's very good.
I agree. Also, just as a point out, the first part of the feature too, there are a lot of things in Bard subclasses that I wish the Bard got. For example, from the lore Bard, I wish that all Bards just got cutting words. And I wish that all Bards at a high level got this. When a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration dice to its ability check and they don't get to use it, it fails still, they can keep the Bardic Inspiration die and try again later. That just feels so, because it feels so bad when they fail a roll and then they roll the Bardic Inspiration die and they still fail it. And just not having that feel like it's wasted on your core feature, I think is a great, great touch.
Yeah, it's just a nice extra addition.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have the same vibe with the rest of it, like it feels right.
Yeah.
But I just like that ability.
And I think that's kind of something Blood is saying in chat, Blood Deuce. Does this not seem broken to everyone else? It's worded a bit strangely and feels a bit bloated because of it. Yeah, I feel like it is a little bloated. I like that feature, and maybe I would personally have this be a more core mechanic early on in the subclass, rather than having it at level 14, keeping the inspiration die if they fail.
I
That would be a
definitely
lot.
agree.
I think that would be that's just fun. Get the fun ASAP.
Yeah, it's Adrian P was basically saying the same thing, saying, I don't like that you will never use this in most campaigns. Absolutely. Very few games will make it to 14th level, and you'll never get to do what is pretty much the, not even the coolest thing that this can do, the most fun thing that this class can do is this reaction. For the monk, it makes sense that the reverberating strikes are a capstone feature. Because it's grandiose and kind of epic in its scale, but this just seems fun to have, earlier on in a lot of ways.
Oh, and I don't know. I could see this ability. I couldn't quite see it at 6th level. That's a problem.
There. Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's a really cool ability, and we love this. So that is our bard. Pete, do we have any closing words on the College of Eloquence?
My closing thoughts, just to re-summarize, I guess my overarching opinion is that I love the flavor of this. I love the archetype that it's going for. There are a couple places where it feels like it catches it, a couple places where it doesn't. I wouldn't allow my players to play this in my game because I think that it's a nightmare to DM for because of the 2 early features. And it would end up causing kind of some issues in that regard. But I think they're on a track, and I look forward to seeing when this gets another pass, if it does, what it ends up kind of becoming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Pete 100%. I really want to see that wave of indifference. I'm sorry, the calm emotions changed over to something else that's just a little more versatile. I want more than one dance move for what's supposed to be this very versatile speaker. So yeah, moving down, let's talk a little bit about the next one in this Unearthed Arcana installation, which is the Sacred Oath, the Oath of Heroism.
Yes.
If you're still there, Redeemer of NA, maybe this is an option. Assuming your dungeon master would allow this. You'd need to talk to them because it's definitely it's house ruled material.
There are some contentious things in here, I'm certain of.
So, mind if I kick it off, Pete? Or do you
bring us in.
Yeah, so like the Paladin, like the Bard, the Paladin gets a Sacred Oath feature at level 3. And this is their subclass, their Sacred Oath. And yeah, there's a lot of really cool things about it. Let's start going through them. So this is the Oath of Heroism.
Heroism. The tenets of heroism. I'm just got confused. I got so confused. I was skipping to the tenets. No, go through, Jeremy. I just got thrown off.
I'll let you speak the tenets, Pete.
And I'll speak the tenets.
The general description. The Oath of Heroism is an affirmation of a destined path, one laid out for you by divine hands. For whatever reason, a god or a group of gods has included you in their machinations. You are not a reluctant hero, but one who fully embraces the idea that great deeds are yours to achieve. You train diligently, sculpting your body and refining your skills so that you're ready when destiny calls. That's most dramatically I could read that.
The tenets of heroism.
Oh, God.
The tenets of the Oath of Heroism reflect a paladin's commitment to fulfilling their calling as a hero worthy of legend. Actions over words. Strive to be known by deeds, not words. Challenges are but tests. Every hardship serves to challenge your abilities and harden your resolve. Embrace destiny. You didn't choose this path, but it's yours to walk, and it will carry you into legend. Hone the body. Like raw stone, your body must be worked, so its potential can be realized.
Now, those sounded like abilities, but that's just all flavor to describe what your character is if you're an Oath of Heroism. And I think just to summarize it, there's a background in the player's handbook called Folk Hero, where you're a hero. That's the big thing. That's what defines you. And that's literally what the Oath of Heroism, you're just a hero. You're a super, I'm a hero.
Which, Jeremy, I get the vibe that you're not crazy about that, but I actually really like this aesthetic and this flavor.
Let's talk about the spells.
Okay, sure.
So,
let's do both spells.
Yeah, at 3rd level, the Paladin gets some. Actually, they get spells throughout their levels, and there are some special ones that they get for being an Oath of Heroism, and those are at 3rd level: Expeditious Retreat, weird choice for hero, and Guiding Bolt. At 5th level, Enhance Ability and Enthrall. At 9th level, Haste and Protection from Energy.
Haste.
At 13th level, Compulsion and Freedom of Movement. And at 17th level, Commune and Conjure Volley. I think these are all great choices. I mean, we're not going to go into the spells in a lot of depth, but like, these are all spells that would super fit a I'm the hero kind of character.
Agreed. The haste is good. Haste is good on a paladin. Expeditious Retreat, while it is named as such, is, I think, it makes sense. It lets you basically dash as a bonus action. So even though it's implied that it's for running away, you can also use it to run very quick in. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's just a funny name for the ability Expedition Retreat. I see a couple comments in chat. Ingram was asking about additional magical secrets. We can talk about that once we're getting through the bard. But we will come back to that, Ian Grimm. We'll talk about your additional magical secrets. Don't you worry. And then Blood Deuce is saying, right off the bat, my first complaint is an incredibly common complaint. They don't have heroism as an oath spell. I'm wondering.
Do paladins not get heroism as a spell?
Paladins are prepared casters, right?
Yes.
They are. Now, do they automatically have their oath spells prepared?
I believe so. But heroism is in the...
Yeah, well, I mean, they can automatically, but if they automatically get it prepared, I just don't remember if they automatically have it prepared or not. Chat, if one of you guys know, we would super appreciate it.
I'm like pretty confident that
because I think that would be a good trade-in for Expeditious Retreat. If
yeah,
that's the case.
That's fair. Maybe the idea is that they don't need it because they already are.
Oh, I know heroism is in the Paladin spell list, but do you automatically have your...
No, I'm saying they don't need to cast heroism on themselves because that's just who they are.
They're heroes. Oh, I gotcha.
Maybe was the logic, but I definitely think that the spell heroism... I would have looked... If I had seen that on the list instead of Expeditious Retreat, I would have gone, yeah, I mean, of course.
So let's continue on.
Well, before we get in, I want to talk a little bit more about the flavor, Jeremy, because I want to hear what you, because you're not crazy about this flavor, is the vibe I'm getting.
Well, I want to go through all of them. I mean, here's my basic feeling about the Oath of Heroism. I think the Oath of Heroism is more a background than a subclass. I guess it does work for the Paladin, but I see this a little bit honing in on this is just a good Paladin, right? That's what this is. This is, I am a good character, I'm good aligned, and I'm a Paladin.
See, right, I don't think of it as necessarily good. The thing that I pull from this personally is vanity, is what I get out of the Oath of Heroism. It seems, if anything, like a very selfish Paladin rather than a kind of an outwardly giving Paladin. And that's something that I like. Like, I really like that kind of I am the important one, I am the hero aesthetic, as opposed to, like, for example, the one that it's probably got the most dissonance with would be Devotion, right?
Well, that's exactly my point. Where, like, obviously Devotion's a little more open and giving, I guess, if you want to go with that direction.
Yeah, I would say that Devotion is like, I help the people, and Heroism is, I inspire the people.
Yeah, I get it. I follow. I'm just not sure if that's enough of a distinction for me.
Fair enough. For me, it is. I like that.
Yeah, and there's difference of opinion here, of course. But yeah, I think we should move on to this.
Yeah, we can talk about
channel.
channel. We can talk about channel divinity. Yeah.
So, additionally, at third level, paladins get a channel divinity option, and they get each of these, and they can pick one of them, or they can use any one of them. They can use one per rest, basically. And the two options are peerless athlete. You can use your channel divinity to augment your athleticism with divine favor. As a bonus action, you gain advantage on all strength, athletics, and dexterity acrobatics checks for the next 10 minutes. And the other one is legendary strike. You can use your channel divinity as a bonus action to guide your attacks. For 1 minute, your weapon attacks score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20 on the d20.
Pretty cool.
I've got some very strong feelings about both of these. And they're both negative. So if you've got something positive, please go.
Well, I mean, your peerless athlete. I think peerless athlete is fine. It's just, you can bonus action to use it, and then you get advantage on your strength and dexterity. It feels flavorful, lets you do heroic-y kind of things, and I don't find it as problematic if used in the problems with this that I think you're going to be speaking about, Jeremy, are grappling related, and those are systematic problems with 5e, and I don't think I would want to judge peerless athlete for the issues with grappling, because I think without grappling,
you can't look at it in a vacuum.
But I mean, do you think rage is problematic then?
I think that aspect of it absolutely is.
You don't
the biggest
think the
issue I have with the Paladin
is cool?
I know it definitely is a problem. But the thing the difference here is you've got your heavy armor wielding a shield of faith, baseline 22 armor class Paladin grappling the enemy with their other hand. That's your baseline. Forget about any other magical crap going on, like magic armor or anything.
Yeah,
I just, as a dungeon master, I see that as very, very frustrating.
I don't know. I don't see that as a problem, largely because I, as a DM, haven't encountered a lot of players that are intentionally trying to take advantage of grapple mechanics.
Well, that's because we're in DnDTime, and I threaten people if they try that.
Yeah, well, and also I don't know. That is a play style that is, I think that unlike the last one where the class is telling you to play in this way, this is I think only bad if taken to the extreme where people are actively trying to kind of break the game. And an occasional grapple, I think, is fine.
Well, the other qualm I have is legendary strike, and Adrian P nailed it in the chat,
that one too.
Which is for 1 minute you're a champion fighter. I hate that. I get it's super cool, but that's the thing that champion fighters get is they crit twice as often. That's the only thing they get. Oh wait, they also get a when you need it, you can be cool and athletic option that's not as good as this one. At level 3, you've just given this paladin everything that a champion fighter gets. Everything.
Yeah, that's definitely problematic when you look at it in that
horrific design. I'm sorry, the fighter doesn't get it until 7th level, the athletic stuff. So you get it 4 levels earlier too.
Yeah, definitely problematic if there's, for example, a fighter in your group. If there's a champion fighter in your group, they'll definitely feel bad about the paladin just kind of getting what they have. And that would feel bad. I don't think this ability is an issue in of the mechanics of it. If you were...
You're right.
If you were just have this and you didn't have a champion fighter... Yeah,
it's in the grander ecosystem of the game.
The larger design of the game is where this is a problem.
There should never be a problem where you come to sit down at a table and you're a relatively new player and you're like, I made my champion fighter. And someone at the table says, oh, you really should play the Oath of Heroics Paladin instead. What do you mean? Oh, it's just better. What? Yeah, everything you can do, it can do better. You should do that instead. Oh, but I don't have that book. Well, you should get that book. That's not a healthy game. There shouldn't be a wrong way to play the game. And
yeah,
this is way too close mechanically, in my opinion.
I mean that's fair. I don't see as much problem with it, except in the situation in which you have two of these players competing simultaneously. In which then, yeah, I can definitely see that the Oath of Heroism would be frustrating for the champion fighter at that table. But I don't mind it. Again, just looking at the mechanics as they are, I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a blast to play. And I don't think, I'm with you, it's not going to break the game. Neither of these abilities will break the game. I would actually rather the Peerless Athlete be saving throws, which would be even stronger. But, I don't know. I guess another minor thing to note, these are both bonus actions, which totally breaks the mold for Paladin Channel Divinities.
No,
all the other Paladin Channel Divinities are actions.
Vow of Enmity too. I think there's some other.
Oh, you're right.
I think there's some other ones too.
I'm thinking of Devotion is not, and
Devotion is not.
Other one. But Devotion's also a lot stronger. I don't know. It's cool. Both these will be fun to play with. I just don't like the design philosophy, in my opinion, in this direction. Do you want to talk about Mighty Deed?
Mighty Deed. Cool down? Yeah. Adrian P was saying that both options aren't very good. I don't know. I disagree. I think both are fine. I would play with either of these, but aside the point. Mighty Deed, your actions on the battlefield can supernaturally bolster your allies and demoralize your enemies. Whenever you score a critical hit or reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you can choose one or more creatures that can see within one or more creatures that can see or can see you. I'm not sure if that's a typo or if it can see within 30 feet of you, up to a number equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1 creature. All the chosen creatures are affected by one of the following effects of your choice. The first one, the creature gains temporary hit points equal to 1d6 plus your charisma modifier, minimum 1. The creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or be frightened of you until the start of their next turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until the start of your next turn. All right, so it makes it so that your crits have little extra effects on top of them. As far as as far as design goes and mechanics, I like the idea of stacking a couple extra effects on crits beyond just it does even more damage. Like, for example, the Barbarian Brutal Critical. I like that idea. And the first one, the creature gains temporary hit points. I think that's fine and relatively cool. The other one, I'm not so much about.
I'm 100% with you, and I think the adding reducing a creature to 0 hit points is really important. As a dungeon master and as a player, I've noticed that a lot of players, even experienced players, will forget about abilities like Brutal Critical, which, for those unaware, it's a Barbarian ability where when they crit, they do an extra die of damage, because you don't crit super often in combat. It doesn't always happen. It's a pretty rare occurrence. I like that this occurs more frequently, and therefore this is more likely to be both impactful, but also noticed by the player.
Yeah,
they're gonna feel like they're doing more mighty deeds than, I guess, just randomly critting.
Than just the brutal criticals and
brutally. And I think the idea is you choose the creatures. You choose a number of creatures that you can see. I know that the wording is kind of funky in a couple of these abilities. Let's talk about that second feature on that, which is the creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or be frightened of you until the start of your next turn. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's just kind of a frustrating mechanic in the long run.
Yeah.
They crit a whole bunch of creatures now. For example, they crit one random mob in a swarm of 10 enemies, and then you have to make 10 wisdom saving throws, and there's a whole bunch of things that are frightened.
Up to a number of creatures up to your charisma modifier. But that's 4 saving throws.
Yeah, 4 or 5. I would be more okay with it if it was just the creature that you crit that was affected by this, but that wouldn't work as well with the design that they have going here. I don't know. I don't like the condition.
I mean, just being able to reduce something to 0 hit points, I don't know. The frightened condition is really powerful because it is disadvantage for the enemy's attacks, and it's a movement restrictor, which can be crushing. And the way I see this feature playing out realistically, and this is Dungeon Master perspective here, guys, so, take this as it may. If you've watched any of our stuff and you think I'm an alright Dungeon Master, this is how I would think. If I'm playing with this feature, and this is becoming super impactful because it's like, all right, I throw some goblins in there because I want, the casters to have something to be able to AoE during their battles, so that they can do that thing they wanted to do that their class is built around. And this player just keeps killing one goblin with one attack to fear the big bad boss. And it just gets really frustrating. And that keeps happening in repeated encounters. And it's really deteriorating the threat level of these combats. Two things are going to happen. One of two things are going to happen. The combats are going to get way more threatening. And then the one time this doesn't go off, they're in really bad shape. Or you're going to run into a lot more enemies that are immune to fear effects, because that's a huge problem here. We run into the same problem with the Oath of Devotion Paladin with its immunity aura to charm. You notice when you get that, you have a couple of encounters with creatures that can charm you, and then you never see creatures that charm things again. Because they're not challenges anymore.
There's no reason to run them as a DM because your players won't. It's just not an ability that they can use,
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. It's too frequent. I think this should have a limit on its number of uses, like lots of similar abilities have. It should be, a number of times equal to your charisma modifier or something. Yeah. And even then,
with the fear, I'm actually okay with
strong.
I'm okay with the temporary hit points just being every crit. Like,
yeah, I am as well.
I think that's just cool.
Again, you're bolstering your allies. Good.
Yeah, I think I think that they could do something else. Even I would be literally okay with just other enemies nearby take psychic damage for having seen how badly you ruined this one person. I would have been fine with even something that ridiculous. But the frightened condition is obnoxious.
If you really wanted to dig into it, maybe it's just creatures with a challenge rating less than or equal to the creature you hit. That could be a cool thing. You crit the boss and fear all his minions. Or you crit one of the or you execute one of the minions and the minions are scared of you. Those things, I think, work. The disconnect for me in a cinematic story perspective is you kill the 2 health goblin, and the mind flayer who's been controlling the goblins is like, oh no, the paladin killed one of my pitiful goblins, and they're terrified of it. That's a disconnect that I can't really get past the way this currently is. I think it's a cool concept though.
Yeah. Another thing that isn't necessarily bad at it's not problematic, it's just not great. It's just not that fun for not that fun for a DM, and I think for the party in the whole. But Jeremy, you want to take
about not fun for the DM?
Let's talk about Glorious Defense. I think this is going to be our quickest one, weirdly enough.
Your blessed glory on the battlefield can misdirect an attack. When a creature that you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to gain a bonus to your AC against that attack, potentially causing it to miss you. The bonus equals your charisma modifier, minimum of +1. If the attack misses, you can make one weapon attack against the attacker as part of this reaction. And that's it.
It's very good. It's too good in my opinion. This is just
way too good.
Yeah, it's when knowing that you're going to get this feature as a paladin, you're already incentivized to get charisma because the saving throw buffs are so insane. But with this, you'll just always max out your charisma, and then when you
get a +5 to a thing every turn.
Yeah, you get a shield spell every round forever against one attack, not the full spell, but still outrageous, too good. Paladins already get the heaviest armor and get to wield shields. And, your average paladin with no magic things, but just the best baseline is going to be sitting at a 20 AC, so you get to go up to 25 once per round. Too good. That's it. That's the end of it. It's too good.
Yeah, it compares very very favorably as well against the Oath of Vengeance. The Oath of Vengeance, their thing is that they can make a reaction attack against the creature they have sworn an Oath of Vengeance against. That's their thing. Like,
does the Oath of Vengeance
when the creature makes an attack, you can make an attack against it. That's the Oath of Vengeance's ability. It's this, except this also gives you a +5 to your armor class.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. There's a huge disconnect here. And more so, right? Glorious. This does not feel like, I mean, it's good. It's incredibly good, but
that's all it is it's very good.
Yeah, I guess you kind of see like the catching the sword with your sword. Like there's kind of the heroism in there, but
yeah, it
is busted.
It's too good. The last feature, the capstone, paladins get their 20th level feature in their subclass, which is always cool, and this one does not disappoint. Living myth. You can now empower yourself with the legends, whether true or exaggerated, told of your great deeds. As a bonus action, you gain the following benefits for 10 minutes. You are blessed with otherworldly comeliness, gaining advantage on all charisma checks. Once on each of your turns, when you make a weapon attack and miss, you can cause that attack to hit instead. If you fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to succeed instead. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Now, your first instinct is going to be, this is outrageously strong. And the answer is, it's good, but it's not like...
Well,
it's not as powerful, I think, as it looks.
So, I totally get, for 10 minutes, you get this charisma check thing. I totally understand the once on each turn. If you fail a saving throw, you can use reaction to succeed. Can I do that every turn?
Yeah.
Can I just always do this?
Yeah. You
okay.
just don't fail saving throws.
Yeah, it's just not super clear compared with the other.
And in the design space of this class, you already have a heavily taxed reaction at 15th level. So it's like, that's not necessarily all that. It's good, but it's not nightmarish.
And let's be real, when we're talking about 20th level, this is the biggest of the big. This is the most powerful you can get in 5th edition D&D. And so if this seems a little bonkers to some of you, well, it probably is a little bonkers. Or if, in the case of Adrian P in chat, the worst capstone, it's pretty good.
It's good.
The thing I really like about it is it appeals to, there's a certain demographic of players, and it's not everyone, but there's a certain demographic of players that hate to fail. And I'm going to say it's not everyone, because some people like the give and take. They like the downs because that makes the highs higher. And I don't think those are the kind of players who want to necessarily really go hard into this paladin up to 20th level, that want to be the hero, because you just want to be a baller. You just want to be the boss. And I feel like stuff like, you hit. No rerolls, no advantage, no bonuses. You hit. Just is a good feel. It's the kind of thing that'll always just feel good. You'll feel like a living myth. And I think
this one definitely feels flavorful for the character as well. Just there's something that feels very heroism about you miss an attack and then you say, well, no, I hit because I'm the hero.
But nay, I lift my blade and strike again.
I am the main character of this story, therefore I hit.
Yeah.
Which is what this whole thing seems to be going for, is kind of the almost the main character vibe, is what the Oath of Heroism is. And I don't know, I think it's a fun aesthetic.
It absolutely is. Overall, conceptually, and it's coming back to where we were before, at the very beginning, why I said I wasn't super into this conceptually. And that's because it kind of, like I was saying, hones on some of the other Paladin's actions, but as a play, as a group, as a team, collaborative role-playing game that 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is, it's kind of weird for me that this class is so emphasizing that you are the main character tone. I could see this class being incredibly toxic in an already dicey player's hand, because it's encouraging that behavior. which is often considered bad behavior or toxic playing.
Yeah, actually, I don't necessarily see that. What are you worried about?
Well, no, just simply the tone of it, right? That you are the main character tone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there's something like, I don't know. I feel like that's bad if it doesn't also carry this sort of like, you're going to do. Because there's something about this that, as much as it screams you're the main character, it also kind of screams you are going to do the DM's quest. Like, you are going to do the DM's story, I think.
I don't have any qualm from the DM perspective of this class. It's as another player. I think Blood Dude says it in chat. Yeah, of that guy playing his oath of hero Paladin would be hella annoying.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that this is going to accentuate any people that you wouldn't have already had problems.
I think it could. I think it gives them a written almost merit to do that. It's like when we were talking about, and this is the problem we had with the soothing words too.
To do what, right? Though? I'm just not sure what you mean, I guess.
To play that game. To play that, no, I am going to do this thing. He is the villain. I will strike him down, but I wanted to talk to him. We were convincing him to stop doing that. No, I kill him! Right? The paladin who just goes forward, fuck what the party feels, fuck what anyone else wants to do. I'm the hero. I'm going to do it my way. Everyone get out of my way. Right? That sucks. It's a really shitty thing to play with.
Maybe it'll
encourages that.
Yeah, maybe it'll give voice to a couple of people that have that style. But again, like, I think that's... I would never want to design around problematic people. And I don't think in the hands of... Like, I don't think a person who isn't a problematic player is going to get this and then become an issue at the table.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think a lot of it could be dealt with or alleviated by just changing the tone a little bit. My personal take.
Fair enough.
And I mean, it's the same kind of idea with like soothing words, right? No, we'll never have combat because I'm going to just make everyone happy every time. Both of those can really suck. These are two very polar opposites of the spectrum. One who wants to absolutely always talk things through, and one that always wants to just go in.
Yeah, but I think that
worried.
For me, the difference is on the soothing words, that's mechanical, and you're encouraged directly. It's like, use that ability. And that's just like, that's a flavor vibe, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the kind... it's weird. It almost makes me feel like, they've recently been including little notes about how you can reflavor classes to be played in certain ways or work in certain ways. And those are cool. I love that they're starting to include those in their books. I almost feel like if you're going to say actions over words, embrace destiny, stuff like that is encouraging, just do it. I almost feel like you need a little box that says, hey, remember the rest of your players are players.
I could definitely party down on that. If they wanted to throw in something that was like, hey, here's some other ways to play this that isn't you hijack the party's kind of will in a lot of ways. I would be 100% down if they threw that on here just as a cautionary tale. But I also wouldn't want to take away what I think is a legitimate, I think this is a legitimate design space. And this is a story you can tell. But yeah, I think if they wanted to hedge it a little bit and be like, if you're going to do this, keep in mind, that would be a wise thing for them to do, although I don't know if they ever would.
And I see Ingram saying, are you worried that this would be abused by the frat boys? I don't think it's just like the frat boys that would do this necessarily. I think a lot of people could fall into that without really realizing it. And this is a whole nother topic for another time, a lot of players fall into that, well, this is what my character would do kind of toxic mind space. And I don't know. There's a fear, and I don't know. It's a little concerning to me. That's all.
It would just have to be. You just have to see how it works out on the individual that uses it, I suppose. But with that, final thoughts overall. My outlook on the both of Heroism, Paladin, is relatively positive. I like it. I like this flavor. Glorious Defense is unacceptable and would need to be brought down. But this is something like I would, maybe allow this in a game, especially if it was going to be a low-level game that you wouldn't see Glorious Defense in. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. I would run it.
Yeah, I think I'm in a pretty similar spot, actually. Like, as much as, like, I'm against, I've talked out against it, I think the mechanics on this are fine. Nothing here is really going to break the game. Glorious Defense is busted, but whatever. This fear effect could be frustrating, but whatever. I mean, it's not going to ruin the game. It's just cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. I just am concerned about the kind of behavior it could encourage in people who just aren't as familiar with role-playing. And then let's talk about Eloquence. Wicked important, misses the mark on everything except level 14 in my opinion.
Yeah.
Some of it is just a little bit off.
Universal speech, I think, is close.
But soothing words and undeniable logic need work.
Like, yeah, soothing words even. Like, the idea of getting a spell that you get to cast equal to your charisma modifier, I like that mechanic. It's just the wrong spell.
Well,
I don't know if there is a right
versatile.
spell in the flavor. Yeah, exactly.
Because it needs to be super versatile. Because that's your one trick. Your one, as Kyle likes to say, your one dance move. It needs to do a lot of things. It can't just do one thing, because when that one thing isn't what you need, it's going to feel really bad.
It's also counters charm super hard, for what that's worth.
I suppose.
On a side note, it's just level 3. You're never charmed again.
And I seem to have lost the comment from Ian Grimm. There we go. This will move us into our final segment, which is Ask Pete and Jeremy. If you guys have any questions you'd like to ask us, feel free to hop onto our Discord server. Link of that is going up in the chat. Head down to the Ask Pete and Jeremy channel and leave us a question there, and we will do our best to answer them. But first, our little stinger.
Ask Pete and Jeremy.
No. Oh, it's probably deafeningly loud. Oh no, I didn't rebalance that volume. I apologize. All right, guys. So you're probably all deaf now. If any of you can still hear us, this is Ask Pete and Jeremy.
All right. So I'm just trying to find where the
I got one right off the bat, because Ingram asked this in the chat
yes.
as we were going, and that is, what do you think are the best magical secret spells in our opinions? He's playing a control-heavy bard about to get the additional magical secrets that the lore bard gets. I love additional magical secrets personally. That's like, if I'm playing a bard, I'm probably playing a lore bard because I want additional magical secrets.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like one of the most fun things about playing a bard is getting to just anything I want.
Yeah. Now at that level, so you get that at 6th level, I believe, which means you get 3rd level and lower spells. So you can just pilfer 3rd level spells from any class in the game. Pete, what's the first thing you'd look for? Because I know what I'm looking for.
For me, I'm usually, if I'm building a bard, I have a vibe that I'm going for, and I'm just reaching for spells that aren't in my vibe that I want. For example, I made a bard once that was like a devout worshipper of a particular god, and so I grabbed commune so I could interact with that more clericy side of things.
This is the low level stuff. Commune's level 5, isn't it?
Yeah, commune's level 5, but like augury would be like a similar thing if you're going for that. So for me, I would go after stuff that's just right for my character that I couldn't get in there. As a solid option, bard doesn't get a lot of strong combat-oriented spells. They get like shatter and dissonant whispers. So if you're just looking for a general spell to take and like anything goes, a fireball or a lightning bolt would be a pleasant thing to have in your arsenal, just as like I have a will scaled 3rd level spell.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great combat spell would be Shadow Blade. if you're playing a bard that maybe would be more in melee. But the place that I would go, if not looking for damaging spell, Spirit Guardians is another incredible.
Yep, that'd be a good
incredible one. But the place that I like to go first off is because you're a full caster, you have some advantages that other full casters don't have. So I would look at like the Paladin spell list and the Ranger spell list because those aren't full casters. And I just
look at smites.
Yeah, like look at what's unique about those spell lists. And if actually even at first level, Ensnaring Strike is like a really good spell, especially if you can get it on with your primary ability bonus being your spellcasting modifier, because it requires a strength check to get out of that restraint, which is a cool, unique twist on Hunter's Mark as opposed to most other spells in the game. Besides that, I mean, that's even a first level spell. I think it's a legitimately strong option.
Yeah.
Other really great ones, Find Steed. I really love Find Steed on my bards. Just because it's like I just have a buddy. I just got my talking horse.
That's a really cute pick. I like that.
And yeah, I mean there are other really great ones. Aura of Vitality is really good if you want to be more supporty. Depending on how much you want to cheese it, Healing Spirit is incredibly powerful. But yeah, I mean, those are all pretty good. Find Familiar is a quality. Yeah, I mean, at 6th level, you can go from I'm just a bard to I'm a bard and I have Familiar and I have this talking horse. I've got it all.
In my mind, I'm picturing like almost a parody of a D&D thing made into a movie where the players are like, oh, what'd you take for your ancient magical secrets? He's getting that soon. He's probably going to get some powerful spells. And then I just see like the bard like running up or standing vertically on the horse as they come forth like, behold my power! Like it feels like in some ways like such a waste of infinite power, but it's the most beautiful way.
Blood Deuce is recommending a Booming Blade. Yeah, if you could do that. You could go like Shillelagh Booming Blade.
Eldritch Blast.
Eldritch Blast isn't really that good without the invocation.
It wouldn't be good on a bard. Everyone always just loves to take Eldritch Blast when they can.
Eldritch Blast.
Exactly. No.
But yeah, I think Pete really hit the nail on the head with the AoEs. I mean, something like Sleet Storm is also like a really underutilized, very powerful ability, especially against enemy casters.
There's some fun ones that you can look into, and that's just like an area in which bards are weak. So that's a good baseline. If you're not inspired in some other way, just a big AoE damage is a nice weakness to kind of shore up.
Yeah, I mean, really, you can just take it in any direction. Is really what it comes down to. What you pick here defines how your character is going to play for a very long time. So think about if you really want to go into a more combat-oriented perspective, a more support-oriented perspective, or if you want to just kind of dip into a couple of different things and be more versatile.
Jeremy, shall we move on to our next question? Yes, I was just about to.
Absolutely, positively. Hit me with a question.
There's a question, I think it was largely addressed, which was that there's a question about Acquisitions Incorporated being allowed in...
that has been addressed,
in DnDTime play, which, for the moment, no, probably not at any point. But, Mr. Plunderloot, actually, to go back, I don't think this was answered yet, actually. What was your favorite Brews race/class archetype option built to date, and why is it your favorite? So the stuff that we have made on Brews, Jeremy, I think I have my answer.
What's your...
I really love the Trash Druid. I think there's a lot of design in the Trash Druid that's relatively inspired. Like, I think there's some cool stuff in that. And I like some of the more flavorful, higher-level features, and I think Druid needs more stuff that's fun outside of Moon.
Indeed. It's a very good one.
Yeah.
I'm torn between the Entithrope, because I think we did a really good job actually balancing those and giving them unique and cool abilities while having their cohesive base. I think that was like a real serious design challenge. I think we really nailed it.
I think so too.
Personally. But the other one, and this wasn't in Brews, I did this one off myself, was the Undead. I really like this my take on the Undead there, personally. Because, like...
I do as well.
Yeah, I mean, everyone else is like, oh, let's do skeleton zombies and ghouls? And it just... Design goes out the window when they try and add ghouls into that mix. And I like tying it to the core races. But no, I think I pick Entothrope. I think I'm happiest about the Entothrope. We still have not seen that Hopper Entothrope, and I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, that would have been my
Bard.
pick. The Hopper Bard would have been my first pick, obviously, because that's what I play as bards a lot. But yeah, so that's that one.
Our next question comes from
the Green or Gray.
Where's that?
Have you ever been scared of another player's character? If so, why?
I mean, yeah, but not for anything done in game. It's for pushing boundaries that shouldn't be pushed. I think if you play enough Dungeons and Dragons, you play with a player that pushes a boundary that should not be pushed. It makes everyone at the table uncomfortable.
Certainly me too. To discuss, like, have I ever been scared? Like, and when you say scared, I'm not going to say, like, I have never actually been like, oh no. But I've definitely... I had a character that was a scientist who was secretly planning to betray a party for an entire campaign. And in that group, there were different people that I felt more and less prepared for. And the person that I was most afraid of was a necromancer, who I had spent the most time like doing like, oh, well, if I have to fight this guy, this is the one that's gonna get me. So I guess Zachariah Airfender was the name of that character, and I guess that he was afraid of Todd, the necromancer.
I actually have an actual in-character option. And it was a moment for me where it was the twist that I didn't see coming, but neither did my character because I didn't. And it was in a campaign Pete was running almost a year ago now.
I think I know.
I was playing a character named Bucket. And Bucket was a kind of goofy, lovable, half-ogre druid. And we were in hell. I think we weren't in Avernus. We were in Phlegethos, maybe?
No, I think you were in Dis.
I don't think we were in Dis when this happened.
No, because it was in the arena. It was definitely Dis.
Yeah,
it was in the Pit Fiend arena. Yeah.
We were in a very dire battle, and one of the other players had been acting kind of strangely, and I had some mannerisms that I played up when I played Bucket. It'd be like, "I'm Bucket," was kind of my Bucket catchphrase. And this other player had been subtly taking over those mannerisms and putting them in their own characters. Like, I'm the Magpie. The other player was James. You can see him on DnDTime Tales. It's on Card Watch in chat. But his character had gotten a madness from being dipped into the river Styx. And that madness was, I must become Bucket. And we were fighting Baron Switch. Those of you throwback to DnDTime.
Yeah, that was from a campaign that I was running back then.
And my Bucket's soul got swapped into his character, the Magpie's body.
There was like a triangle swap.
Yeah, and he was in Bucket's body. And because of his madness, he then he turned in the middle of combat and chose to try and murder me in his body.
Like,
so
I am now
have
truly
to give
Bucket.
away Bucket. I am Bucket. And in that moment, I was terrified. Oh no!
Yeah, that was a highlight moment of that campaign. When that madness came to a head.
That was horrifying.
And shout out to James.
It was so well too.
No, it was so good. It was so gradual. When it happened, it felt earned completely.
Yeah,
like it wasn't just out of nowhere. It was like, oh no, this is what this has been leading up to.
This is where Bucket ends.
Thankfully
he missed.
Yeah,
it
and
was awesome. Cold
it
Spark.
all worked out. It all worked out. And then they all got cured of madness and everything was fine. But that's a good moment.
But for a moment, it was terrifying.
Indeed.
Well, that ended up
Next
being a long
question.
question. What's our next one, Pete?
Who would win in a fight? Tony Jaa, his pet elephant and Muay Thai master recently killed and he vowed vengeance? Or Jackie Chan, who is holding the last baby on Earth and just said, I don't want no trouble? The fight is held in a multi-storied abandoned factory that exclusively made chairs, ropes, and ladders and still has many laying around.
Oh my god, that sounds like an incredible action sequence.
I think the answer is Tony Jaa, and I'll tell you why. Jackie Chan is fallible and Tony Jaa is infallible. So when two unbeatable opponents come to clash, the one that has room to give, I think, is Jackie Chan, just on his whole character.
I guess that's it.
And that's my that's my analysis of this battle, and I feel like it's a legitimate one.
That's all I got. I'm with Pete. I got nothing.
D Forgotten One says
this is the kind of thing I'd have to just watch unfold and be amazed at every moment.
I mean, that's also true. D Forgotten One says, who would win as a bard, Bob Ross or Freddie Mercury? Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, it'd be Freddie. Bob Ross is great, but Bob Ross is like that third level bard who's traveled the world, like sharing his beautiful stories and inspiring people. Freddie Mercury is that 20th level bard who's been power grinding. Just, I'm going to the cities, I'm going to grind up my bard rep, and I'm going to wreck the world. So yeah, Freddie Mercury. Switch asks.
Oh, please.
Of the new Unearthed Arcana classes you have reviewed lately, what subclass is your favorite and which is your shit list? Interesting.
What were the last two? The monk and the...
Yeah, the Astral Self Monk and the Fey Barbarian. Were the other two. Man, which one's my shit list?
The one that is probably my favorite among those is, I think, actually the Heroism Paladin. And the one that is my least favorite is probably the Bard. The shit list, like, it's in flavor-wise, that Bard is actually probably my favorite. I love that aesthetic, but in terms of which one, just like, no, I can't have this at my table, it's the Bard.
I think I'm actually with Pete on that. I'm still not sure how I feel about the Astral Self Monk. I think there was so much going on in that like I really would want to see it played before I could really grasp a very strong opinion on it. But
yeah, that's probably my number two. Would be that one. Even though I like the flavor of the Fey Barbarian so much more than.
Well, and the problem is the mechanics
but
the mechanics of Fey fall so in the too
clunky. Both.
Yeah.
What are your favorite ice cream flavors?
Both shitting on the Bard. Oh, what's my favorite ice cream flavor? I like Belgian chocolate.
I like vanilla.
I also like cookie dough.
I also like cookie dough. Vanilla is kind of my...
What
plain
race?
Old... Oh, good.
I was going to say, Cold Spark asks, what race, class, or subclass combo are your favorite to play and to have in your party? Oh, man, that's a tough question. My favorite to play, like, that changes from night to night. I get inspired by different things every day. Forget about every time I play. Maybe it's a mechanic. Maybe it's a character concept I get tied up in my brain. Yeah. That's hard.
The class that I always come back to, I think it's fair to say at this point, Jeremy, it's Bard, right? Like, I play a lot of Bards.
Yes.
I love race. My answer is probably humans or halflings or dwarves. Any of those three. Those are my top three. But I play a lot of humans as well, because a lot of the times I just like being kind of a grounding force in a party when there's a lot of ridiculous races floating around. I think it's nice to have a human to keep things, to when you walk into a town, you have one human.
See, I'm all about those beast races. That's all. the idea of playing a turtle or a bugbear, or that just like appeals to me a lot more than playing and I love dwarves too, but they're not really beasts. They just appeal to me a lot more than an elf. Because
yeah, elves I'm not crazy about. I've been wanting to like find an elf that was right for me for a while. If that makes sense.
For me, and it's weird, right? Because all of that lore about the elves came out through in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and I actually, it's weird. As a dungeon master, I like it. As a player, I don't. I feel like it's painting too much of a box around my design space. Like if I wanted to engage with it, there's almost too much there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's some validity to that.
Yeah, I like to take things out of the box and stretch the boundaries a little bit, and it's just that didn't help me at all. Want to play an elf more. But and favorite having a party, Pete.
I mean, it's nice when you got a cleric. It's nice when there's a life cleric that's there just saving everyone's life all the time and no one else has to think about it.
I fucking love Moon Druids.
Really?
Thank you, Moon. Oh yeah, dude. There's nothing. The reason I like having Moon Druid in the party is if I'm a player and there's a Moon Druid in the party, I never, ever, ever, ever feel bad about abandoning them. About just totally bailing from a situation that's bad for me and letting them handle it, because they've got like 3 health bars worth of beasts that they can go through.
They're never gonna die.
They're not gonna die. They're gonna be fine. So I like just having that assurance that, like, you know what? I need to bail. Here, you do it now. I'm gonna go run for 2 turns and then drink a lot of health potion.
And I like. This is something that I feel like I might get harangued for, but I like it when there's a balanced party and there's a mix of everything. I know there's a lot of like people who are definitely of the opinion like, oh, you can have a party, you can have 5 of this, and you can make it work. But I just like it when everyone has their own thing.
I mean, I like it when everyone's got their place to shine. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm totally with you on that. You know, you can all be warlocks, but if you're all Eldritch Blast, Fiend Pact warlocks, you know, that's thematic, but it's going to be a pretty, I don't know. I don't think that'll be a fun game. Shrug emoji.
Maddie Moore says, he literally hates Fridays then. You heard it here first, folks. No, Maddie, I love what you do. That was actually what I was thinking of when I said that. I was like, I know Maddie's a big proponent of it, but I just like having the mix-up. I just love having the mix-up, personally. Definitely fun to see. I love watching other people do that.
Well, it super depends, right, also on the dungeon master and the player.
That's true, too.
Like, if you're playing a really try-hard, combat-heavy game, actually 5 paladins is just incredible. You should just always do that.
Yeah. I'm listening to a podcast, currently, a D&D podcast, where all of the players are bards, and that's the whole shtick, and they're, like, going to bard school together.
That's interesting. The multi-bard party is like a pretty common trope. I know Sirens of the Realm. I think that's what they are. They're hosted on I believe twitch.tv/DnD every so often, and they have a thing that's what they do. They're an all-girl bard band going around the Forgotten Realms doing fun adventures.
And that's fun. Cool. You know, that's a fun thing. Certainly, like I was saying, as an audience member, I have a lot of fun with that.
And as the bard, I think you can do it a lot better, right? Because there's so much versatility in the bard.
It is a very versatile class for sure.
Just be really whack with like five like champion fighters. Just all right, guys. We're all real strong and we hit things with swords. Anyway, let's move on to the next question.
This is an interesting question.
If you were playing in a level 1 shot where you had a few hours to make preparations before the city you're being besieged. If you're playing in a level 1 shot where you had a few hours to make preparations before the city that you're in is besieged by an unknown enemy force, what would your primary course of action and overall plan be for surviving and keeping the commoners safe? The commoners are screwed, yo. You're level 1. You gotta like not fall off a ladder trying to climb up the wall, or you'll die.
I guess if as a level 1 character, my primary course of action would be in. I would spend all of that time convincing the commoners that they need to stand up and take arms against the Force, all who could. That would probably be the best way to do it, because at level 1, you ain't defending that city unless the unknown enemy force is 5 goblins.
So, unknown enemy force. I think that's a huge difference between known enemy force. Because if it's an unknown enemy force, it could be, whatever. I think you're right, Pete. I think that's the way to go. If it's a known enemy force, it's you know that it's scary, or that it's really strong, and that there's not much of a chance. I think you got 2 options there, right? Or 3 options. You could do what you just said. You could run and abandon the city. That'd be a strong option. Or you could try and betray the city and help the enemy force in hopes that they'll help you out. They'll spare you.
Matty Morgs was saying, cover the goblins in flour, then cast fog all over them to make them jelly. Or in other words, use the environment around you. That's some halfling shit if I've ever heard it.
That was with
yeah, I know.
Snord.
Indeed, it was. Ugh, delightful.
But yeah, actually, that would be a good idea if there were like aqueducts or something. That's a very reasonable tool to potentially use.
Yeah, do they run an adventure on the road? Asks Matty Morgs. He or she stops for a roadside meal. What does it consist of, or what are your daily rations normally?
I see. We have shit out on the internet again. That's not good. No. Let's fix that. Hopefully this just fixes it. All right. I don't know if that did it. It doesn't look like it. God darn. All right. So are you there, Pete?
Yes.
Killing Skype didn't fix it.
We're off?
Oh, no, killing Skype might have fixed it. Oh boy. Okay, the thing is choking. The stream is choking back to life. Can you all hear us? Chat, can you give us any sort of symbol if you know that if we're alive again? And then we'll see how that goes. Oh gosh, Pete, are you okay?
Yeah. Oh, I was getting ready to answer my next.
All right, it looks
here.
like we're live again. We're alive, guys. It is literally just Skype. It looks like that is causing all of these horrible problems.
That is strange. So stops for roadside meal. What does it consist of, or what are your daily rations normally? I picture always D&D rations as just being like dried meat, hard bread. Is basically what daily rations are in my mind. Stop for a roadside meal, a hearty soup, also a hard bread, and maybe a cheese.
Ooh. Just lots of cheese and shelled sunflowers. That's just all my character eats. Yum, 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 yum. But really, it's a big loaf of probably partially stale.
Yep.
But now I like
much.
the cheese.
Yeah, well, I'm picturing stops for a roadside meal. I was picturing it like an inn.
Oh.
When I was thinking, I was picturing like stopping at a tavern.
That's not a roadside meal. That's it's stopping at an inn.
Well, you're right. I was wrong. So that's why I was That's why I was saying like a hearty soup. Because that's the kind of thing I would expect to get at a high fantasy.
That's valid. You see, what your character needs is they need the breakfast soup. You just take sausage and eggs and milk and maple syrup, and you just throw it all into a bowl and you smash it up, and then you got breakfast soup. Anyway, our next question comes from the Forgotten One. Who's your favorite band member of the Inner Demons?
I have him right here. It's up on the screen. Maybe you can see him. Maybe you can't. I don't know.
The Glabrezu.
The drum boy.
I'm with you on the Glabrezu. The drummer's so cool.
Inspired by Lil Glabby.
Lil Glabby. I
It's
love
just
that.
Lil Glabby.
Besides Lil Glabby, if I had to pick someone else, I'd probably go with the Narzagon because he's so fucking cool. Even though he's not in the band anymore. But
That's fair. I think
he's
it
the
counts.
outer demon.
And our last question is a great one from Switch here. So Switch is allowed to be a heroism elf? Question mark XD. There's a lot of things that are possible in Legend tier, but Unearthed Arcana is not listed among them.
I like the XD at the end because that's just kind of how I feel about that. And with that, that wraps us up for the evening. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, for being here tonight. We have a whole bunch of really cool stuff planned for the upcoming weeks. All through October, Pete and I are doing our Carnival of Souls event for Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. Every Friday, we're going to have our 3 1 to 2 hour one-shot adventures. It'll all be part of one kind of somewhat cohesive, ongoing, actually it'll be pretty cohesive this year, ongoing story. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. I'm very excited. And of course, it's going to end with a dramatic big boss battle.
It's going to be a blast.
Besides that, on Sunday, we have DnDTime Tales. We're going to be wrapping that up in just a few weeks. So no time like the present to jump in and watch us murder a bunch. Actually, it's like going to dinner next week. This is the gang goes to dinner. But then we're going to murder people again. And then, what else, Pete? What else we got going on?
Tune in to Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. That's it. That's all I got. I just want to double down on Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. Not even this Friday. I mean, this Friday's going to be as fun as it always is. So make sure you come and hang out this Friday. But tune in 2 Fridays from now and be part of the Halloween spectacular. Play the games, collect the collectible loot, be engaged in the one overarching story that we do each year. We got a ton of cool ideas. I am so excited for October and Halloween here in the D&D time community. It's going to be a blast.
Absolutely. But yeah, and of course, if you all have been watching this and you've been having a great time and you're like, man, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I wish I could have more right now. I can't wait till Friday. Well, friends, do we have news for you? Our friend of the stream and fellow Dungeons & Dragons streamer, Matthew Morgs, is going to be streaming later on this evening, doing some last-minute mini fundraising for his trip out west, because he's going to TwitchCon. Matty, have a great time with that. I'm very interested to see what happens. But yeah, there's going to be some fun minis popped open on his stream. I would head over there if I were you and, go have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So without no further ado, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Pete, and this is D&D Time Talks. Good night, everybody.
Bye.